I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel and the website Global Math Institute. In this video, we'll take up 25 questions related with solving equations having fractions. The worksheet is designed to cover all possible questions which you need to do at this level. In case you want to learn from me, you can always send an email on the address given. Here you see 12 questions where we need to solve the equations. Solving equations really mean to find the value of x. Now these equations involve fractions, as you can see. We will understand methods of solving these equations. I have categorized them in 4 types. Type 1 and type 2 are shown in this particular screen. Now let's have a look at the other types of equations, which I've classified as type 3 and type 4. Another set of 12 questions are right there for you. I'd like you to pause the video, copy these questions, solve them, treat as a worksheet practice. Now the last 2 questions here are very interesting, kind of modified over the linear parameters, and you have some x squares in them. They can also be solved with a similar method. Once you practice solving all the 4 types of questions, in that case, you can move on to the exercise where we'll have more typical questions related to the word problems and some challenge questions, as you can see on this particular screen. Now, these type of questions, which I'm treating as very special questions on this category, I'll show you alternate ways of solving them. By the end of this exercise, you will be mastering the techniques of solving these equations. Now, let us begin with solution of type 1 and type 2 equations involving fractions. So I hope you have a copy. Make an attempt to solve them on your own and then look into my suggestions. Now here is the type 1. So when I say type 1, it is more or less like proportions. So you understand what proportions are? Well, equations relating to ratios are called proportions. So as you see here, we have a ratio on the left side and a ratio on the right side. So that is a proportion. To solve these equations, the best thing is cross multiply. Cross multiply means what? If I have A over B equals to C over D, I could cross multiply. That means I will take B on this side and D on this side. In doing so, I am removing the fraction part of it. And what do I get? I get AD equals to BC. Now here, the important thing to understand is that we do not have the denominator part, right? I mean, always 1 is the denominator. However, so we'll call this as get rid of fractions. You get the idea. So once you do that, you get a very simple linear equation. So this leads to a simple linear equation, correct? Which you can solve. So I'm assuming that you know how to solve linear equations, correct? And then the difficulty of equations involving fractions will be addressed in this particular video. Right. So you understand, if I have 4 over x equals to 2 over 5, I could cross multiply. Taking x on this side, right hand side, numerator, and 5 on the left hand side, what do we get? We get 4 times 5 equals to 2x. Simple as that. And now let us reinforce our learning on how to solve linear equations. Well, if that is the case, then you need to isolate x. To isolate x, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to divide by 2 on both the sides, right? So you need to isolate x. So basically, you can divide by 2 on both the sides. Once you do that, then we have isolated x on the right hand side, and we get x equals to 5 times 4 is 20 divided by 2, which is 10. Does make sense to you? That is how we are going to solve type 1 equations involving fractions. The idea of categorizing into 4 types is just do these 4 equations and solve 40 in your notebook. You get the idea, right? So we have to work smart rather than just working hard. Now, here is another example which you must have come across many times, and it creates confusion at times. Our policy of cross multiplication works fairly well here also. Cross multiply. Multiply 4 x minus 4 by 2 and x plus 3 by 5, which I've written as 5 times x plus 3 equals to 2 times x minus 4. So that is cross multiplication. As soon as you do cross multiplication, we get rid of fractions. So the idea here is get rid of fractions, right? So let's emphasize on this. Get rid of fractions. For many students, that is a challenge. And if it is a challenge for you, it is no more a problem. You can easily solve it. As you can see, this time by cross multiplication, we have removed 2 and 5 from the denominator and got an equation in a linear form without fractions. 5 times x plus 3 equals to 2 times x minus 4. Now, distributive property, open the brackets on both the sides, then you have your terms 5x plus 15 equals to 2x minus 8. Bring the variables on one side, constants on the other, simplify, and then get your answer. So these steps are the steps to solve linear equations in general. So you learn both. How do we solve linear equations with or without fractions? You get the idea, right? So 5x minus 2x is 3x, and minus 8 minus 15 is minus 23. And now you can divide by 3 on both the sides. Once you do that, you get x equals to minus 23 over my over 3. So that is also, in a way, a cross multiplication. You get the idea. So is it absolutely clear to you? Once you know this, then you can definitely go back to the worksheet with these 12 questions, and you see all of them involve cross multiplication, any one of them, right? So you could cross multiply straight away, get this answer. So if you take this x on this side, and then you get a linear equation 7 equals to 28x. Divide by 28 and get your answer. You get the idea. So simple as that. So try these questions and let's move forward with how do we solve type 3 and type 4 equations. So in type 3 and type 4, the equations are not directly written in proportion form. What we have is more number of terms, right? So more than one term on each side or any side of equality leads to this type 3 and type 4 variety. You understand? Correct. So now we have more than 2 terms in general. So there, how do we solve these? Okay, so first step here is to find the lowest common multiple, or we say lowest common denominator. Both the terms are used many times, lowest common multiple or lowest common denominator. So basically, it is the denominator we are working on, and therefore, specifically, we use lowest common denominator in our explanation. So in these exercises, find the lowest common denominator of each and multiply both sides by lowest common denominator. So the strategy here is multiply both sides by lowest common denominator, right? So that is how you solve these equations. So I hope the strategy is clear. Make an attempt. And here is how we are going to do them. Okay, so as a sample, I have taken up two examples here. So we have x over 10 minus x minus 6 over 5 equals to 4 over 5. Now in this case, what is the lowest common multiple? Well, for the denominator, it is 10 and 5, so 10 is the LCM. Some students will use LCD, lowest common denominator. One and the same thing. Multiply both sides by 10 each and every term. So here we have three terms, multiply them 10 as shown here and then simplify. So as you can see, 10 and 10 cancels. That's the whole idea. 5 goes two times and here 5 goes two times and therefore we have actually got rid of the fraction part. The denominator now is just 1. So we have x minus 2 times x minus 6 equals to 2 times 4, which I've written as 8. You can always open the bracket and then simplify as you do for solving linear equations. Is that clear to you? Correct? Now, we could have x in the denominator also. Very scary sometimes looking at these questions. However, the strategy remains same. What is the lowest common denominator for this? 3 over 2x plus 1 over 4x equals to 1 over 3. Well, in the denominator, we have 2x, 4x, and 3. So as far as the numbers are concerned, the number 12 and the variable x forms the lowest common denominator. So we'll multiply each side by 12x, each and every term. So three terms, all three of them multiplied by 12x as shown here. Now we can simplify. 12x divided by 2x will give us the number 6. And in this case, x and x cancel as you can see. 4 goes 3 times and here 3 goes 4 times in 12. Simplifying the equation, we get 6 times 3, which is 18. And we have 3 here in the numerator. So we have 6 times 3 plus 3 equals to 4x. Now, 6 times 3 is 18 and plus 3 is 21 and therefore we have written 21 and 4 equals to 4x. Now you divide by 4 and isolate x to get the answer as 21 over 4. Is that clear to you? So now I hope you have learned these strategies. Have a good look at both these solutions. Strategy to solve equations of type 1 and type 2, which are like proportions, and the strategy to solve equations of type 3 and 4, where we have extra terms. In that case, follow the principle of finding the lowest common denominator, multiply both sides by that and get your answer. In the first case, we need to cross multiply and get our answer. So now it is a good time for you to solve these questions one by one. Once you do them, then you can get into the exercise which involves slightly more complicated cases. We are going to take many of the questions related to word problems and some challenge questions in the next video. However, in this video, we'll conclude by providing solution to some of the equations we had been working on. The idea is to understand the strategy. So the first step once again is to cross multiply, right? So cross multiply, if you see the equation is of type 1 of or type 2. Type 1 or type 2 means it is kind of proportions, right? So once you cross multiply, you get 2x equals to 3 times 4 minus x. Do not forget to write brackets. Brackets is important. This 3 is going to get multiplied with both 4 minus x, and therefore bracket is required. So 2x is equals to 3 times 4, which is 12, minus 3x. Now you can bring the variables to one side. This is the strategy to solve the equations, which you now know. So we have 5x equals to 12, and now you can divide by 5 on both the sides, or we can cross multiply saying that x is 12 by 5. You get the idea. So that is how you do it. Now here's the next one, cross multiply. As soon as you cross multiply, what do you get? You can do along with me and then move on with the worksheet. So we have this as 5x equals to 35 times x minus 1. And we can have this as 5x equals to 35x minus 35. And then we can bring variables to one side. It's a good idea in this case to bring 5x to the right hand side and 35 on the left hand side, correct? So we'll avoid negative numbers also. It helps. You get the idea. So keep on changing your strategies as required. Apply your learnings effectively. That is the whole idea. So we can now write this as 35 over 30 equals to x. At this stage, you can always simplify this. And so you get what? Dividing them by 5, we get 7 over 5 as our answer. So you can write down that now x is equal to 7 over 5. You see this. That is how we solve type 1 and type 2 questions. Here is another solution. Sometimes you get equations where we write the fraction part separately, as shown in example 12 and 13. Now, here also, the strategy is kind of similar. Well, this question could have been converted to type 1 and type 2. So you could convert it. So, or you could straight away multiply by 12 on both sides. So you could adopt either the strategies learned for type 3 or 4, or you would think like this, convert that, right? So 1 over 4x plus 5 equals to 2x over 3. Do you see that? As soon as I do like this, it becomes type 1 and type 2. That's what I meant. At times, you may have to see the question in different ways, right? So apply the learnings. So that is what I say critical thinking. Okay, now you cross multiply, you get 3 times x plus 5 equals to 4 times 2x, and that is 3x plus 15 equals to 8x, and 15 equals to 8x minus 3x. 15 is equals to 5x, and so 15 by 5 is x. That implies that x is equals to 3. Does it make sense to you? Easily. Once you get the flow, you can solve the equations just as I did it this time. Next part is for you to try, but here is a quick look at it. So we can cross multiply. We get 5 times x plus 2 equals to 3 times 3x plus 2, correct? And so we could write this as 5x plus 10 equals to 9x plus 6. Bring the variables and constants together to simplify further as I'm doing. Do you see that? Most of the questions are like this. So easy to do and you're done. You will get this kind of a flow after practicing solution of questions in this worksheet. Now there is one more very important step, and we say once you solve, we say solve and check. It's a good idea to check solutions. For example, x is equal to 1, substitute x equals to 1, which is our solution in this case, in the equation and see. Are the two sides equal? So let us check it this time. 1 over 3 times 1 plus 2 is equal to what? 1 over 3 times 3, which is 1. So that is what we get on the left hand side. You get the idea. On the right hand side, it is what? It is 1 over 5 into 3 plus 2, which is 5 divided by 5, which is also 1. So we see that is the right hand side. So if the left hand side equals to right hand side, in that case we are sure that the solution is correct. Purposely, I have taken a very simple equation, rather a solution, to show you that it is important to check the solution, and that is how we check it. So important note here is also check solution. That really means show that right hand side equals to left hand side for the given value of x. Is this part clear to you? Correct? So that is how you're going to do it. Now here is solution to some of our questions of type 3 and type 4. So what you have to do is find the lowest common denominator. So in this case, what is the lowest common denominator? Well, 2x, 3 and x means 2 times 3, 6. 6x is the lowest common denominator. So multiply each term with 6x. So it is 6x times 1 over 2x minus 6x times 4 over 3 equals 2. 6x times 1 over x. Let me write like this. Now you need to simplify it. So x and x cancel. 2 goes 3 times. In this case, 3 goes 2 times. And here x and x cancel. Then you write down simplified equation, which is 3, in this case, minus 2 times 4, 8 equals to, sorry, 8x, right? So 8x equals to, we get 6 here. And now we can take 3 minus 6 equals to 8x. 3 minus 6 is minus 3, which is 8x. And therefore, x is equals to negative 3 over 8. Is that correct? So you could do like this and solve such equations of type 3 and type 4. Perfect? So multiply by the common denominator to get your answers. Let's do once again for the question number 6 in our worksheet. Well, the common denominator is what? Well, the lowest common denominator in this case is 4. So we are going to multiply by 4 each term. So we have 4 times x plus 2 over 4 plus 4 times x minus 3 over 4 over 2, sorry. The question is 2, right? So equals to 4 times 1 over 2. So now you can simplify this. The idea is to get rid of fractions, right? So that is the idea which we have seen how it helps to write the equation in the linear form and then get the solution, correct? So I hope with this the concept is absolutely clear. If you have any questions, in that case, you can always write to me, right? So the email address is given to you right there. You can send an email and then get your solutions. Let us expand the other part, which is 2x minus 6 equals to 2. Bring the constants and variables simplified. We can say this is x plus 2x equals to 2 minus 2 plus 6, right? So we have 3x equals to 6, or x is equals to 6 divided by 3, which is 2. Perfect. So you get a solution which is x equals to 2 for one question and x equals to minus 3 by 8 for the other. I hope with this you have learned all the concepts. Now in the next exercise, we'll take solution of these special questions. So it is thinking an application where you might have to do a substitution to solve these types of questions. So we have x squared plus 1 divided by x squared minus 1 equals to 5 over 4. It is a proportion type. You could cross multiply and then solve. Similar is question number 12. Strategies is to use the method of substitution and then solve. Let me give you the method here. You could substitute some variable p as equal to x squared and then solve. It becomes a linear equation after cross multiplication, correct? So that is the hint for you. Next, thinking an application question with fractions. Provide solution with different strategies. The question for you is, difference between two positive integers is 50. The ratio of these integers is 1 to 3. Find the integers. In the next video, I will give you two different methods of solving such questions. Another challenge question for you is, a fraction is such that if the numerator is multiplied by 3 and the denominator is reduced by 3, we get 18 over 11. But if the numerator is increased by 8 and the denominator is doubled, we get 2 over 5. Find the fraction. So it involves wordings which are complicated to understand sometimes. So you may begin by assuming what a fraction is. So you say let a fraction, you say let, you can use this statement, let fraction be what? So let's say let the fraction be a over b, right? And then accordingly modify and write down your equations with the given conditions and then solve. So we are going to take up these challenge questions in the next video. I hope with this video you are in a position to solve all these questions of type 1, 2, 3, and 4. Feel free to write your comments and share your views. In case you have any doubts, you can always contact me on the address given. Thanks for your time and all the best.